Okay, go ahead.
Okay, so we use SAP, and when you utilize SAP, it gives you a PO number and not a rec number. Does it give the accounting group a rec number?
That means that you have an internally generated requisition. You have an internally generated requisition. Some of the ERP systems are so sophisticated now that they've actually tried to eliminate some jobs. And by doing so, what they do is they take that buyer position and they say, okay, what if we take and we create something called a partnership with a company? So you have a major, instead of a purchase order, you have something that's called a blanket purchase order. So this blanket purchase order means we're going to go ahead and negotiate the contract for buying fasteners for the entire year. And you go out for bid and you lock it down, and now it's pretty much on autopilot because we've already done our due diligence to confirm we're getting the best value. And by doing it long term like that, what's the advantage of doing it like that?
It's cheaper.
It's cheaper. So if I'm a small mom and pop company, what's the chances I'm going to be able to lock down a year-long fastener contract? Very, very small. But as the company grows, and you get to, you know, the millions, billions of dollars like a Miller Coors, for example, then they have that ability. And they'll either redirect the energies of those individuals or they'll lay them off. And, you know, when they go to lay someone off, why are they doing it?
Bottom line.
Saving money.
It's all about the money, isn't it?
Company's favorable.
It's all about the money. Do you realize every time you get paid, the company that is having to pay the taxes is matching what your paycheck is in terms of the taxes that are coming out? Did you realize that? In addition to that, the cost for the benefits are coming out as well. So if you're making $100K, you may be costing that company $160,000. And they want you to know that. When I worked for BAE System, they took and gave everybody a report that showed what the value of that relationship was.
Between the company and the employees?
Yes. It showed what you were paid, the taxes that you paid, the taxes they paid on your behalf, what the benefits were, what they actually cost the company, and they showed you a grand total in order, I don't know what the point of it was, trying to get you to feel warm and fuzzy about this company, this job you're working for. But in one of the organizations I was at, there were 12 buyers. So there was a lot of money being spent on buyers.
That's on all my pay stubs.
So they have their
On this
own,
side where it says employer contributions, it'll show what I contributed and what they contributed. Or it shows what I paid for the health insurance and what they pay, what ASU pays for the health insurance.
What was that?
no, I was just saying, you know, military is different. You can print out what is called an LES, it's like a pay stub, but on it, it just shows, what they take out for federal, and depending on what state you claim, what your pay is, if you get what is called special duty allowance. So it's totally different from what you guys have.
Yeah, it is. So,
But now when they do that, are they trying to let you know that somebody's about to get chopped because they want to save money?
well, it gets people talking, that's for sure. Yes.
So I've seen the separation of powers in the maintenance and the production part, but with the capital projects, I'm wondering if that's just an area, like you said, they're phasing out, because from my experience with the capital projects, the person that owns the capital project owns it all. So they plan it, they procure it, they receive it, they open a project and they close it.
Mm-hmm.
And so with that, they would, I guess, wear all hats
Mhm.
for that particular project.
And you need to be able to wear some of those hats. And for you to have an understanding of this basic generic process I'm trying to explain, there are so many other factors that come into play, so many other things that or let's call them hats you have to put on and take off. You may be functioning as I know secretaries that function as project managers, quasi-project managers. And I know by experience, seeing the purchasing manager become the head buyer for capital expenditures. And so they had to take on those additional procurement responsibilities in addition to managing the department with no additional pay, of course, which is a different subject.
So who oversees it? Are you talking about like VP, CEO, like who oversees them? To ensure,
What's the answer to his question?
The next person up.
well, who is that?
It just depends on whatever.
Yeah, that was the answer.
Yeah. The
It
next person
depends.
up. It just depends.
It depends on the structure of your organization. So you come from a military background, and it's very regimented. Boom, boom, boom. That's how it works. Well, when you get out with these small mom and pop organizations that are, organic, and they just grow and grow and morph, and some fail. The ones that make it, they become bigger and bigger. And I've been working with a client called Southern Ag, and they've grown to 550 trucks from one. So you learn as you go. You expand and identify your talent as you go. And it takes people to get things done. It takes people to get things done. So, requisitions. They tell the buyer what to go buy. The buyer goes out on something called a request for quote. The request for quote comes back. I would never accept anything less than 3 under normal circumstances. You get your 3 quotes back. You're going to look to see the best value being, you of course look at price, but you don't always look, well, who's the cheapest? That's the one I'm going to go with. It's deeper than that. You got to know, well, if I have a problem, can they service it? Can they back it up? Can they replace it? How soon can they get it delivered? That oftentimes, price is not even taken into consideration based upon the level of urgency for a particular part or raw material in order to keep manufacturing rolling. So after the RFQs come back, the request for quotes go out, and they come back, you then evaluate the quotes, and you find which one is the best value. You then issue a what? Starts with a P. PO. What's that mean?
Purchase order.
Purchase order. Purchase order is a unique identifier number that's specific to that one buy. It's then given either electronically, by fax, over the phone. It's communicated. What is the onus on the buyer to do to ensure that that order is placed?
Email. Because you're trying to verify whether or not everything is in play.
You're supposed to write something on it.
I just issued a purchase order, okay, to ABC Company. Okay, now we need to just go ahead on with our regular meetings, and what's the next piece of business I need to work on? And I have forgotten what I did yesterday. And now a week goes by. Now 2 weeks, now 3 weeks. You're sitting in a meeting and let's say, this is an open order report. This is everything inbound. So let's look and see. What's behind? This part number umpty frats isn't here yet. I wonder why. So they ask the buyer, why has this not come in yet? And the buyer looks at it and says, oh, let me check. And they pick up the phone and they call. Yeah, so I'm calling about PO 12345. Hasn't come in yet. And they say, we don't have PO 12345. Oh, yes, you do. I sent it to you. Did you get an acknowledgement back?
Acknowledgement, that's what it is.
Yeah, you're supposed to write, what do you write on it?
You need an acknowledgement for every PO that you give. When you issue the PO, you have to get an acknowledgement in some way. If it's verbal, write who said it, the date,
That's
your
what I'm
initials.
saying. Unless, like you were saying before, when you acknowledge through an email and then they respond back to you, then you have proof that they got it.
I'm glad you listened, because that was the next sentence coming out of my mouth. After you documented what happened on the piece of paper, on the PO that's your copy, I would then follow it up with an email. Dear Billigoff, confirming our conversation, you have acknowledged verbally that you received the order and everything is capiche. And then when that individual opens that email, you can request a read receipt via. Then that read receipt becomes your proof that that order is acknowledged because they opened the email. So after it's acknowledged, what happens next? What's the next step? The components, the services
Needs to be received.
needs to be received. They're going to show up some kind of way.
Transportation, that's what I was thinking about.
It's going to show up some kind of way. When it arrives, they're going to do what with it?
You receive it.
They're going to receive it and process it and indicate in your ERP system that it has been received. Now, if it was received partially damaged, if it was received an incorrect part, it didn't match up, there's different conditions that could go along with this receiving document that would prevent it from, the invoice from being paid.
So that would
It
go
wasn't
back to the
necessarily
terms and
put.
conditions.
We'll go back to the terms and conditions and be
And the
put
contract
at the
itself.
feet of whom this problem.
Well, it all depends on what all that shortage affects.
Wear out that, it depends.
Because it does.
Well, it could be, that's why I say it could be the buyer, because if the buyer didn't put it in his terms and conditions.
It is
as
the
well as in
buyer.
Contract, then it'd be his fault.
It is the buyer,
Are we still talking on the level of manufacturing?
yes.
It depends on what all that shortage or damage affected. So if it affected, it's not the buyer, if
Because-
it affected the line, if it affected the next load going out, then you have to write an FMR because you have to calculate all the cost involved before you can write it up to get it paid.
Well, that goes back to what he was saying in his example. I'm not talking about, what ifs, but just based off of his example, if I'm supposed to be receiving XYZ amount of bottles, okay, so I can fill up my beer, and the crate gets here and half my bottles are broken, then that still would have to go into the terms and condition of, okay, hey, am I insured in case half my shipment doesn't, either come or they're broken, who's gonna pay for that? And if the sender says, okay, hey, that's not on us, we shipped it, good to go. Okay, so we shipped it to you all, everything was good, so at that point, it'll fall either on the buyer or whoever transported it. Will have to go and pay for that.
You don't know what
It
happened
could-
on that process of it when it was getting transferred. It probably was good when it left off, but something may have happened in that process.
Who has a responsibility?
I got an example.
Okay,
So, everything that you just said is 100% correct. There was a container that flipped over on Friday down the road. We said to open it because you have to access the damage, but we couldn't open it because we no longer owned it. The customer that was receiving it owned it. So it was no longer our beer, so it all depends on whose it is to determine who pays for it.
great example. Exactly.
So that still goes back to the terms and conditions as well as the contract itself.
Well,
In the beginning.
in under terms and conditions, net 30, COD, CIA,
Depending on, what's it called? I forgot.
FOB origin
Yeah.
versus FOB destination.
Mhm.
So you have to determine who is the onus on to be responsible for the product. Who owns it has to be determined. And that is in the T's and C's, specified on the purchase order. So in Demila's example,